flash of turquoise blue. I just had to try to keep your life in view. My bird of paradise.
Hi and good afternoon from a cold and clear winter's afternoon here in the UK. The temperature is just around about 2 degrees centigrade, coming up to sundown. Anyway, today I just want to have a quick look at the Zino, and more specifically how it performs and really how well it flies. So this isn't a review, it's more of my thoughts on the Zino. I've now had the Zino for just over a month and I've nearly racked up 100 flights with it, so I've had a little bit of experience. Now there are plenty of unboxing reviews and video samples already online, so this isn't trying to replicate that. This is really just a discussion on my preliminary thoughts of how well the Zino performs as of today. So without further ado, let's get the bird in the air and get some video. Okay, well to start off with, obviously we need to get the Zino ready to fly, so I'll just do that quickly. I keep it in this little bag here, just a little padded bag which I happen to have, and it fits nicely. We've got the controller in here, and as soon as I take this out, I power that on to get that out of the way. So that's ready. I'll just put that to one side, and then the Zino sits in this part of the bag. So put that down. The first thing I always do now is remove the gimbal cover before I forget. In the early days I had a stage where I always forgot to do that, and put that, so it doesn't fall off here, in the bag and out of the way. And then obviously unfold the legs, or the arms, or whatever you want to call them. Put them in position and power on the quad. There we go. And then we set that down. I usually put on this little bag. It needs to be perfectly stationary, obviously, for the IMU in the quad and the IMU on the gimbal to calibrate themselves and restart. Now once it's done that, we've got a blue light, and you can't see it, but these lights will start to flash once it's finished its power on self-test. So while it's doing that, I'm hopefully starting to get some, there's a quick flash now, don't know if you can see that. I get my phone out. I'm using Android only. I do have Apple devices, but I'm an Android person. So this is a Huawei P20 Pro, and we start off then by placing that in the holder. And then what I do is I'll go to the Hubsan app and I'll launch that first of all. Enter the device, enter the main interface, and it's at this stage then that I finally plug in the OTG cable. If we do that in a different order, it sometimes fails to connect, so just cancel that prompt, and basically that is all there is to it. There we go, we've got connection, and asked me if I want to bind, so I do. And that's all there is to it. That's how quick it is. I'm just going to skip that because I don't bother with it, which is the GPS accuracy test. So that's it. The quad's now ready to fly. I've got 5 satellites locked on the quad at the moment, but in a couple of minutes that should be ready to go. And once we're ready, we're going to take it out and we're going to do a quick flight, and we'll have a bit of a discussion about what I feel about how the quad actually flies. Currently we're running FC 1.0.46, which is as of today's date, which is, I don't know, what is it, 15th of January, something like that. That's the latest available firmware for the flight controller, and I find it's a big improvement on the earlier versions. I've gone from 39, something like that, through stages up to 46. The firmware updates are extremely simple to perform for the flight controller. Basically, it'll take you longer to download them, find the file, than it will to do the update, which takes 20 seconds. Very, very simple. Anyway, let's get out and fly this once we got this GPS lock. Okay, there's a couple of other features I'll just mention. The log on the Android log, the app, there's a couple of little bugs in it currently. It doesn't record negative altitude and doesn't record signal strength for the Wi-Fi. Apart from that, apart from the updates which have wiped the log a couple of times, seems good enough. The other thing that I don't particularly like is the controller itself. It's people call it the toy controller, a bit basic and plastic. That's not the issue for me. I don't care about the plastic bit. There's a couple of issues. I worry about the longevity of these antennas. Every time we stow them and unstow them, we bend them through 90 degrees in two different directions. So I worry about how long those are going to last in real life. And the other thing which I don't really like are these sticks. They're far too short. I'm a pincher, not a thumb flyer. I'm old school, and when you pinch these, you're almost on top of the gimbal itself. So I actually have a couple of little extensions which I install on these sticks to give me about an extra 20 mil, 25 mil, which makes all the difference, both the sensitivity of the controller and to the flying. Unfortunately, I've forgot them today, and I'm having to use these, which is probably, I'm going to blame the rubbish flying on the lack of control with these sticks. So that's just a couple of things that I come across which you may also find as well with your Zino if you've got one. Here we are, the quads are all ready to go. We've got 8 satellites currently locked. It'll come up to a few more of that in a moment, but let's take off and do some flying and see how it performs. So just leave that there for a moment. First off, hopefully you can see this. Okay, so that's a quad now sitting there. We've got a little bit of wind here today. Probably about, at the moment, about 6 or 7 miles an hour. And I can see that absolutely rock steady. So with this flight control firmware, I would say it's pretty good. It doesn't perform so well in strong winds. Once the wind gets up to about 10-15 miles an hour, the quad is struggling. There are a few features that come with that. One of them is the lagginess of the pitch control when you're heading into wind, and the other is the way the quad turns and the altitude that it either gains or loses when you're flying in quite a bit of wind. But first thing I would normally do is I would take this out and I would just get a quick return to home to check that wind goes through. And as you can see, when you hold down the throttle stick after it's landed, the quad disarms. So that's a nice feature as well. It'll also disarm if you tilt it through 90 degrees. Just demo that if you want. There we go. So there's two options then. The only problem with doing it that way is that the gimbal goes into protection mode when you twist it through 90 degrees. But it seems like it's reset itself okay. So let's go out now and have some flight. Okay, I'm going to do an auto takeoff here. You see a little feature here. Get down, Dodge. It rises and then it drops the boat. I don't know. I think unusual little feature, but let's be aware of that. I'm in normal mode at the moment, which is the best one to do. And you can see the quad flies quite nicely. You'll notice I'm not changing altitude at all here. not giving any commands. It's a bit, it's searching around a bit for its hold point. There we go. It has that little stutter where the quad tries to lock it again. So I expect Hubsan will do that over time. The flies, as you see, it's quite a nice sport to fly once you get that.
Here I'd like to demonstrate a little feature of the quad when you turn the quad. When you turn it to the left, you tend to lose altitude, whereas when you turn it to the right, you gain altitude. So this is obviously a configuration issue within the flight controller, which is not equalizing the power on the left and right hand side of the motors. Hopefully Hubsan will look at this and resolve it in the near future. But in the meantime, you need to be aware that when you turn on a left hand turn, the altitude drops. When you turn on a right hand turn, the altitude raises.
Let's go and we'll do a left hand turn first. There we go, and you can see that quad drop. It might be below the view now. Let's bring it back in. And in fact, we'll do that same flight to the right. This time we're going to go and do the same out and do a right hand flank turn, and then we'll see what the difference is. There we go. And do a right hand turn, and the quad rises on the way back. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference there. Something you need to do less perhaps. Especially the descending one, but I mean the quad flies nicely. This is again on normal setting. It's really apparent when you go into expert mode, as they call it, because the controls are much more sensitive. The other thing is it's quite difficult to see the orientation of this quad. I find. And the throttle response at low altitude is very slow. It actually, once you get below 2.5 meters, the descent rate drops to, snail pace. If I pick it back, it might be in short. And if I just go up, probably out of shot now, but I've got a full down stick now. And you see the quad drops, and then it just stops there, and that's at 2.2 meters. So at 2.5 meters, it goes into this slow mode. And again, that's another little feature you need to be aware of, because if you fly, which I do here, well below zero altitude, when I walk on in a minute down this hill, I will just let the quad follow me, and I'm going to go down about 35-40 meters. And if I want to fly the quad down there, it's going to take me forever to bring it down in that manual fashion. Even normally, the descent rate is quite low, and the best way to bring the quad down is to bring it down in a right-hand spiral. So that's the quad. I'm very happy with the way it flies. It's not the best fly. If you've flown a 501, for instance, this is like day and night. The 501's a nice quad to fly, and it's very smooth and predictable. This, you have to keep on your toes a little bit. But for a video platform, which is what I use it for, it really is performing exceptionally well. The video's good. There were a few issues with it earlier on. It seems to be more or less resolved now. It's not a good photographic bird at the moment, but again, I don't take photos, and if I do need any, I just take a screen grab, which is it's just every bit as good as the photographs that we normally take with the quad. I don't use any automatic modes. I haven't tested any auto modes other than the return to home. And those are the return to home features, which I'll just mention here. Two features. Feature wise. And I'm just going to hit return to home here. Okay. The first feature is that when the quad returns to home, its head does not match the course. So the quad will come straight directly back to the launch point, but the angle of the camera, of the head of the quad, is always off slightly. And in my instance, always off slightly to the left. The other little feature, little bug, is once you're overhead, I'm just going to stand my camera here so I can push it on the top here. So that quad's now descending, and you can see that I can move the head, and that only happens while it's in return to home. The other thing is, now it gets to this height, I can actually maneuver this quad. And the only thing I can't do is raise the altitude, and that caught me out a couple of times. So the first time I didn't realise what was happening. The second time I realised what I'd done. But if you don't, what I'd done was I tried to cancel the return to home, and I didn't hit the OK. I thought I had done, and I thought the quad was now back in my control. And it appeared to be, because I could yaw it, I could pitch it, and I could roll it. But the quad kept descending, and eventually it landed in the grass. Much to my consternation, because I don't like landing quads in the grass. But that was a little feature which you need to be aware of. Once you in return to home, and once you get overhead, you can then take back control of the pitch, the roll, and the yaw, but you do not have any control over the throttle or the altitude, and the quad will still continue to land. Useful feature if you want to move the quad away from where it's going to land, or you need to bring it in over your head and kind of catch it. But at the same time, a little thing that could catch you unawares if you suddenly think that you have disabled return to home and you go off and fly, and this thing will just keep going down and down. And if you're over a lake or the sea or water or something like that, or over trees even, well, then you may end up with not having a quad anymore. So again, one of those things you need to check. So all in all, I mean, I'm really happy with the quad. I think for the money, they're about £300 in the UK. I think about $350 in the US, and around the same elsewhere in the world. I think it's very good value for money. It's not a DJI, and it doesn't pretend to be, and it's fairly basic in its handling and its features, but that to me is one of its selling points. That you can take this, I mean, this £300 quad, you can take this places where I would take a £1,300 quad. And if I lose this, I'm not gonna die in a ditch over it. Whereas if I lose a Mavic Pro or even an Air, well, that's gonna hurt really badly. Anyway, hope you enjoyed a quick review. I'm gonna do a review at some stage when I do try the automatic features, and we'll let you know then what I think of those. But I say it's not something I would normally use anyway. In the meantime, there'll be more of this sort of stuff coming up shortly. Once the weather improves, it's a reasonable day we've got today. But the weather's been pretty poor over the last few weeks. So with that, I'm going to big thumbs up to everyone that's watching. And obviously a big thumbs down to the two people who always put that in straight away. You know who you are, but yeah, we're all adults here apparently. Anyway, all the best, and have a happy new year, happy flying.